There we go. Wait a minute. I'll do that one. Okay. That one's a little bit nicer. Okay. What's going on, Uni Ari Ball? Very nice video for Sweet Home Alabama. I like that. Kind of like had that DJ Screw type of feel to it, you know, the sweet, sweet home Alabama. Anyway, so what am I going to do in this stream? Well, I'll try to make it short. Because as always, it seems like there is something else to do. Or at least that's my excuse. But I wanted to subtitle this stream basically as Everyone I Don't Like is a Fed. And here's proof as to why. That's kind of a long subtitle. But basically, I feel like the older you get, the more you just feel like nothing really does change, does it? That's why I use the phrase, the game doesn't change, it's just the players. You know, the reason I say that. Oh, okay. Cats are fighting out there. Oh, well. Anyway. The reason I would subtitle that is because, you know, you study about somebody and then you realize, oh shit, this guy got CIA money, didn't he? And, you know, it's like, you know, when people want to talk about Evola, for example, they're like, oh man, yeah, based Evola, you know, ride the tiger, bro, yeah. And then you find out that Evola was getting money from and getting support from the OSS. And you're like, bruh, you know, or James Baldwin even. James Baldwin got support from the CIA as well. And it's interesting to think about. Of course, I mean, James Baldwin, of course, you know, wants to talk about, you know, I'm not your, you know, I'll just say just this one time. You know what? I'll use the hard R just one time. But yeah, I am not your nigger. Okay, one time. That's the only time I'm going to say. But yeah, I am not your. And he ended up going to France in a majority white country. And, you know, he hobnobbed with celebrities, this and that. They all stopped by his house and everything. You know, jazz artists and everything else. He lived that champagne socialist sort of life, or just kind of the, you know, your cosmopolitan sort of life. But yeah. But another thing I did want to touch on, though. Let me see here if I can show it. I think I will. Let's see here. THA. I thought I had it saved. Okay, Thailand protests. There we go. Let's see here. I was going to show a video from Associated Press, which was just the most paused thing ever. I was going to, but I was like, no, this is gay. And I know that they would have flagged me and they would have taken this video down. I know. Never liked Heffel that much of it. Dang. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I don't know if the Guardian will take me down, but I'll go ahead and show you this. September 22nd. Thailand protests everything you need to know. What's happening in Thailand? An unprecedented wave of protests have swept across Thailand over recent months, led by high school and university students who are calling for major democratic reforms. Some have also broken a long-standing taboo, raised and risked prison sentences to demand the power and wealth of the country's monarchy be curbed. Oh boy, you boy. Young people say they are fed up with an establishment that has undermined the democratic rights of the country's progress. Smells like color revolution to me. Demonstrations began on university campuses at the start of the year in response to a court decision to dissolve Future Forward, a prominent opposition party. The party was especially popular among young people. During last year's election, a vote that was supposed to return Thailand to democracy following a 2014 military coup, but was instead marred by claims of irregularities, and which critics say was skewed in favor of the army. The emergence of the coronavirus pandemic halted the demonstrations, but only temporarily. In June, discontent flared further when it was reported that pro-democracy activists, you're not going to get me to pronounce that, I'm sorry, had been abducted in Cambodia. Rights groups say he is the ninth exiled activist to disappear in recent years. The government and military have denied involvement. Ugh. That's the most creepy thing I've ever seen. That's one of the creepiest things I've seen today. Seeing a woman like that. I need to get my, it's so Americanized. It's sad. And I can say that as American, and I apologize for what we have created, the consumerist culture that exists in the world. I apologize for that. Especially for the fact that I'm going to be a marketer and everything else. But yeah, it is very sad. What do the protesters want? One of the protesters' slogans is "Let it end with our generation." Students are mostly united around calls for the dissolution of parliament, an end to harassment of government critics, and for changes to the military-backed constitution. Oh boy, oh boy. Whew. I'm getting a whiff. Is anyone else? How's it going, World War II girl? I was gonna say I'm getting a whiff. I'm getting a whiff of Fed. Y'all get that whiff of Fed? It just wafted right in front of my nose. I'm like, ooh, that's a stink I've smelled before. That smells like, it smells like a Fed. Okay. Some have also called for monarchy, recent protests organized by the United Front. Okay, let's take a look at this United Front of Thammasat. Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll take a look at that here in a moment. Which has issued 10 demands for monarchy reform, which was attended by tens of thousands of people. Is it illegal to criticize the king? How have authorities responded to the demands? Okay, yeah, this is ridiculous. Okay, that's just, yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the United Front of Thammasat. What the hell is this? Oh, okay, this is their bullshit website. Okay. Guaranteed it's Fed, but let's go ahead and check. Police-sized booklets on monarchy reform harass would-be protesters. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to try to go for it. You're studying medical? Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay. Let me go ahead and see here. I'm going to see if I can pull this up. They're not going to get along. Let it go. Oh, it's one of those the mainland Chinese ones. Me. I don't have anything against those. This guy's pretty good. Oh, Dante Basilian. Okay, he's still putting out work. Good for him. I'm sorry, I get distracted easily, folks. Sorry. Okay, let me see if I can post this. I don't know if it gets taken down, just press F. I'm sorry. Let me see here. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and show this. Let's see if AP is gonna try to take me down. I don't know. We'll find out. This is the most okay. When y'all see this, this is gonna be one of the most cringe things I've ever seen. At least for me. I mean, I don't know. Sorry. Boomer, 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 boomer. There we go. Overlay. Okay, here we go. Yep. What's going on, Will DeMarco? Okay, let's go ahead and show this video. Hopefully it doesn't get taken down. We'll find out, though. Gay flag. Bruh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When you see the rainbow flag, you know that it's a rainbow revolution, which is basically something that's sponsored by the U.S. Rainbow flag. Okay, go ahead. Ugh. Bruh. This is Thailand. คนต่อไปค่ะเคยมีความเจริญเกิดขึ้นในประเทศชาติเราเลยมีแต่ความชิบหายเกิดขึ้นใช่ไหมพี่น้องลามไปถึงเด็กประทุมไอ้ประยุทธ์จันทร์โอชามึงได้ยินไหมเขาไม่เอามึง
เพราะต่างชาติเขาไม่เลื่อมใสไม่ศรัทธามึงพร้อมหรือยัง
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Buddhism. I'm waiting for trad Buddhism to come up. I'm waiting for trad Buddhism to just come in and say, no, this is cringe, bro. I'm waiting for trad Buddhism to come in and just be like, no, this is ridiculous. I'm waiting for that. Yeah. Thailand. Exactly. This is, oh my goodness. Oh, Lord have mercy.
พร้อมแล้วน้องสาวจัด
Oh, Thailand. Oh.
ถ้าบอก
Ugh.
จริงฮะขอบคุณครับผมขอเสียงปรบมือดังๆค่ะให้กับคุณฮ่องเต้ด้วยค่ะ
Complete. Okay, you know what? Yeah, that one flag was just text. My inner sound is cringy. Yeah, exactly. Okay, you know what, chat? Let's go ahead and do something slightly interactive. Okay, I want you to put in percentages of how many of what of do you think is completely put 100% if you completely think this is completely American, you know, a completely American control type of revolution, or put like 50% if you think maybe it's just part so, or if you think that it's none at all, you can put 0. So 100, 50, or 0, or whichever one, or just put paused. Either way. But I'm curious what y'all think, because this feels very American, doesn't it? It does. And it, unfortunately, yeah, America pushes, I hate to sound like a wignap, but pushing globo homo harder than any other country out there. Only we do this. Only the United States does this.
พรุ่งนี้มึงไม่ลาออกสะท้อนสังคม ถูก
Ugh, bruh. 100%. Yeah. That is Thailand. Yeah, Temujin, that is Thailand. Yeah. It is Thailand protests going on here, but yeah. That was, oof. Thailand has always been buddies with America, yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. I mean, there were a lot of, you know, SF folks that were trying to take out Pol Pot, this and that, yeah. But yeah, it's awful. Oh, I mean, that was cringe, wasn't it? I mean, oh, I mean, you know what's ridiculous? The most ridiculous thing I heard. I don't know where people like Paul Moran got this information, but when I heard Paul Moran on his stream yesterday, I didn't watch every single minute because most of it was just bullshit. They were drunk off their asses, both of them. But the thing is that I heard in their stream that apparently the far right is. I don't know where the fuck this is or where I heard this, but this sounds like, I mean, you know, homo-fascism is a thing, but it's like, I'm Viet, I'm so biased, lol. Yeah, I'm having the foggiest, but that's just terrible. It is. And that's just so sad for Thailand. I mean, the thing is, you can say what you want to and be like, oh, the king is bad, but with all this homo stuff, it's like, bruh, come on, man. You know, it's like, let's get the trainees. Okay, let's put the freakiest people up on stage. Can we do that? And have them scream out to the crowd, and we're gonna start laughing. It'd be like if you got RuPaul to come into Uganda or something like that. Oh, hi, how's it going, everybody? Oh yeah, let's go. You know, I don't know, man. Like I say, oh, won't America just fall? When will it fall? That way every country can just go back to normal. It's like, just leave us alone, America. We don't want your gay stuff. We don't want it. But let me finish my point, though. Is apparently the far right, according to people like Paul Moran, doesn't Thailand still use the imperial system along with the U.S. and one other country? It could be. Maybe the U.S. just got tired of the monarchy, and they're just like, well, fuck you. You've been nice to us for all these all these decades, but it's like, hey, maybe it's just like, well, fuck you. You know, maybe they want a successful one this time instead of making, you know, maybe some real, you know, 4D chess type of stuff where it's like, we're gonna make fools of ourselves in Venezuela, but we're gonna do a real one in Thailand. I mean, who the fuck knows at this point? It's just ridiculous, isn't it? But I was gonna say is that Paul Moran was on his stream yesterday, and I was watching it to a point, and this guy Ugopnik who's there was saying that the far right, I don't know who the fuck this is, but they're so anti-Islamic, which I mean, a lot of far right folks just end up going to Islam. I mean, same thing with a lot of Nazis. They end up just converting to Sunni Islam. But anyway, that they're so anti-Muslim that they want to defend their populations, their gay population. And I'm like, I have never heard such bullshit in my life. You could say, you could say what you want about homofascism and the, and of course the skinheads in the UK, for example, being gay. But it's like to say that overall the far right is out to, that they want to dab on Muslims so hard that they would say that they would rather defend their gay population just sounds like bullshit to me. That's I don't yeah. But another topic I want to talk about. Yeah, far right usually trad ideas and Islam is pretty trad. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't really get that where it's like of course, man, I think Paul Morin though, I think he just sounds like a, he's just one of these pretty boys who just like, it sounds like a phase. It really does. I mean, he can go ahead and talk about oil and this and that. And of course, the thing is, of course, is that how can you call yourself an ML or something like that and then also try to reconcile the fact that Ireland is a Catholic nation? And of course, I mean, I don't know. I really can't make sense of it, but that's how it is. I'm not Irish or anything. Maybe I have a bit of Irish. I don't know. But it's just ridiculous. It really is just cringe type of shit. I don't know. I did see a video from Way of the World, the Wignat guy, the British Wignat. And to a point, he did have some points talking about black separatism, this and that, and how ultimately people of today, they don't want black separatism. And I think he is correct on that. I do think black separatism is unrealistic, but more to the point is that the leaders don't really want that. They don't want black separatism. They just want money. They just want extortion. That to me, that's what BLM is. It is just an extortion group. And of course, man, I could go, full on conservatard or go full on QAnon guy who's like, well, they Soros is trying to fight back using BLM, and I'm not gonna completely go down that road. What I will say though is that BLM is nothing more than a racket to extract money from companies and whatnot, and of course, I mean, it will be interesting, of course, in a few years when some BLM person is going to come out or some former BLM person is going to come out and say, yeah, well, now we support. It's like, well, yeah, we got money from the CIA, so what? Or, yeah, we got money from the FBI, so what? I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. It's like, yeah, we got the money, so what? Yeah, nationalist libertarians are generally more anti-Islam principle than trads. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just such a complicated world, isn't it? Actually, you know what? It's not that complicated. It's just, as long as you just say everybody's a Fed, then you're golden. Everything I don't like is funded by the CIA. That's all you need to do. I almost feel like going down that road where it's just like everything's a Fed, everything is cringe. It's like I just want to be a Fed too. It's just like that's how I feel. It's like, don't you want to be a pepper too? It's like, don't you want to be a CIA agent too? It's like, I want to get that. I want to get my Fed check. Not even the Soros check. I don't even care about the Soros check. I don't care about that. I want the Fed check. Feds must be making hella money, or people like Richard Spencer must be getting hella money. I want that money, don't you? It's like, that's how I feel at this point, though. I was like, man, just give me my check, man. Just call it a day, But the thing is, that's ultimately, oh, you didn't miss that much, Red Dundoni. We're just talking about, Thailand, of course, is apparently having a rainbow revolution, where they had some trannies getting up there and saying, oh, it was awful. It was very bad. You can rewind the stream back. Oh, it was awful. Okay. But yeah, that's basically it, though. I think that it's just utterly ridiculous to see this type of stuff go on. You know what? Let me see if there's anything. Let's go ahead and find a random video to watch. That way we can critique it, huh? Let's see if I can pick out a random critique video. You know what? You know, why don't let's be democratic about it. Let's be democratic here. Kiss a man to own the Muslims. Yeah, Gavin McInnes. Exactly. That's really what it is too. There was some person debating a flat earther saying she wished she was getting paid off. Lol. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's do it this way. That way I can go ahead and make this stream a bit more interesting than just me blah blah blahing. Okay. Press 1 if you want me to respond to a random video that I choose from Innuendo Studios. That's the Innuendo Studios is the guy who makes the All Right Playbook. So press 1 if you want me to do that. Press 2 if you want me to respond to I don't know. Who else is out there? I mean, who else is really? I don't know. Sargon of Akkad. How about that? I've hardly ever watched Sargon of Akkad. Or press 3 if you want me to just continue rambling. I'll put it that way. Yeah, that's not much of a choice, but that's all I could think of. 1, okay. I'll wait for the votes to come in. I'll try to be somewhat democratic here. Make sure 2. Sargon of Akkad. Okay. Take your time. It's all good. Like I said, I know that there's a bit of a lag, so it's all good. What we got here? 1. Okay. Got 2 votes, at least according to what I see here. 3, you should review national anarchism. Okay. Let me see here. Let's see what we got here. Huh. Oh, okay. New Ruins 09. National Anarchism and Explanation. Okay. Well, I tell you what. Let's go ahead and do... So,
markets can have utility, and there are...
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do... we'll go ahead and do this video first. We're not going to watch every single minute. But we'll do this one, and then we'll do a... I'll find a video for Diddley... Innuendo Studios, yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. It's always good to, let's see here. Alt-Light Playbook, let's see here. I Hate Mondays. Okay, here's that one. Okay, we'll pick out that one. There we go. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. So apparently this is where he's talking with non-compete. Mr. E. American Johnson, a marketer himself. I mean, at least that's what he said. He's a marketer. He was a marketer. Ends up going to South Korea, and then he finds his way down to Vietnam. I don't really get that. I really don't how you go from South Korea down to Vietnam, and then you find yourself a Vietnamese GF, or a Vietnamese comrade, as he puts it, I don't, like I say, right now, it's just everyone's a fed to me right now. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of cringe. I'm sorry. Okay, well, let's go ahead and, we'll go ahead and do that, though. Let's go ahead and do that. So this is National Anarchism and Explanation. This is from that New Ruins 09 guy. Okay.
There are even forms of anarcho-communism that are market-based.
Oh, pain. Well, here I am again to explain things better than anyone else can explain them, I suppose. Even though there are many dumb fucking imbeciles who think I'm a fascist or whatever, the truth is, I'm actually not. In this video, I'll be going over what I actually believe, since people endlessly pester me to understand my ideology. Before national anarchism is explained though, I'd like to point out that even though I'm not a fascist, something I've pointed out in my video, A Critique of Liberalism, Economic and Social.
Oh, bruh. Did you just use the Nosbowl symbol? Bruh, did you use the Nosbowl symbol and do that? Come on, bruh. Bruh, don't do that. That's not nice.
Like a lot about fascism, particularly its embrace of
see you later, Union Army Ball.
So, what is national anarchism? Well, before I can get to that, we have to define anarchism, panarchism, and pansecessionism. Anarchism is a political philosophy you'll see promoted by many on the far left all over the internet and in real-life organizations, trade unions, etc. It can be described as a kind of...
I'm going to speed this up just to here, okay? I'm not going to speed it up too much, but I'll speed it up just to here because this guy's kind of boring. Go ahead.
socialism which seeks to abolish the state in order to eliminate capitalism. Unlike, say, Marxist-Leninism, it doesn't seek to establish a temporary state, a dictatorship of the proletariat, in order to end the capitalist mode of production.
Yeah.
Marxist-Leninism establishes a state-socialist mode of production, where workers don't control the instruments of material creation, but instead a centralized administration known as the government does.
Well, eventually, even I have to say, the eventual goal of socialism should be is that eventually it's communism, where the whole world does not have to be controlled by corporations and be controlled by national borders and everything else, so that we can, a stateless, classless, cashless society. That's the whole idea. But I know that you're referring things in a different way. So go ahead.
Anarchism understands that the only way capitalism will be rid of from the earth is through that of state destruction. If the state is overthrown, or voted away, as some parliamentary socialists and anarcho-pacifists believe will happen, which it won't, obviously, then there'll be no more capitalists, and workers will be free to live out their lives, to labor, in accordance with their own wishes. In a more broader sense, however, anarchism is philosophy which opposes itself to all political hierarchies. To quote Pierre-Joseph Proudhon, the first person to call themselves an anarchist, anarchy is a condition of existence of adult societies.
Okay, hold on, folks. What you doing there, wild kids? Are y'all being wild out here?
Yes,
Are they attacking each other?
it's clean down now, but
Mm.
you
Okay, well.
had him trapped in the bathroom.
Oh, she had him trapped?
Yeah, she had him trapped, and every time he'd move, she'd growl.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
He was a little scared to move.
Oh. Okay. All right, folks. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
As hierarchy is the condition of primitive societies. There is an incessant progress in human societies, from hierarchy to anarchy. It opposes itself, anarchism, to authority, to rulers. The term a or an means non or absent.
Go on.
The term archy is a synonym for hierarchy. The term archism is a synonym for hierarchism, sometimes used to refer to totalitarianism. So, quite literally, anarchism means non-hierarchism. The term hierarchism meaning the principles, practices, and authority of a hierarchy.
Yeah.
In general, anarchism poses itself to bosses.
Okay.
Panarchy. This is an interesting ideology. Very unfortunately, very few people adhere to today. But I certainly adhere to it. Panarchism is, in essence, live and let live, each to their own. Each society will be constructed for different demographics of people, whether this be based upon race, ethnicity, ideology, style of governance, culture, religion, rulers, or whatever. The mutual agreement made between all these existing societies, which people get to choose from, opt in and out of whenever they please, is that none of them commit acts of imperialism or colonialism, that none expand past the confines they've agreed to settle upon. To quote Paul de Put, the individual who coined the term panarchy in 1860, the truth is that there is not enough of the right kind of freedom, the fundamental freedom to choose to be free or not to be free, according to one's preference. Thus I demand, for each and every member of human society, freedom of association according to inclination, and of activity according to aptitude. In other words, the absolute right to choose the political surroundings in which to live, and to ask for nothing else. And to quote him again, where he forever elaborates upon what a panarchist world would look like, in each community, a new office is opened, a Bureau of Political Membership. This office would send every responsible citizen a declaration form to fill in, just as for the income tax or dog registration. Question: what form of government would you desire? Quite freely, you would answer monarchy or democracy or any other. And once registered, unless you withdraw your declaration, respecting the legal forms and delays, you would thereby become either a royal subject or citizen of the Republic. Thereafter, you are in no way involved with anyone else's government. No more than a Prussian subject is with Belgian authorities. Anyone at any time is able to leave their society of choice. Some aren't given the choice initially, for they're born into a pre-established social order. They can, however, leave at any time and choose and join another community. These communities can be vertically governed, having a state, or ungoverned, conditions of
Okay, this is... Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
anarchy. People of all political tendencies, with the exception of bloodthirsty neocons, of course, will find their ideal society fashioned from the cooperative acceptance of panarchism. Anarchists, fascists, capitalists, socialists, Marxists, white nationalists, whoever, will have their own societies due to panarchy, because any society can be created to meet any ideological group's needs. Now onto the concept of pan-secessionism. What secessionism refers to is individual small groups, in comparison with the size of the state, branching off, moving away from the clutches of the state, to start their own independent, self-sufficient communities, free from the tyranny of centralization. And more specifically, pan-tribe of people sharing common character class and the white race. He referred to himself as a fur positionist and had joined the fascist platform, the International Fur Position, in the 1990s. Through the utilization of force, it has manufactured such a social situation across the Western world and its nations. With freedom arrives voluntary paternalism.
Well, I mean, like specifically for national anarchists, what's the
Bruh. Okay, the fact is that you have to go to... the fact is that if you have to go to the... Sorry. Excuse me. If you have to go and find your proof with the...
You be nice now. Come on.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Just wanted to play with him. Well, that's good.
All right. Okay. See you later. All right. You kids take it easy out there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, folks. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on here. All right, let's continue on with this. I'm trying, folks. I'm trying. Ooh.
Like, what's the usual interpretation of the critique of hierarchy in regards to how they view society?
Perhaps I'm, the left wing of national anarchism, but I would presume that, the general consensus. Hence, this is why, in our current crisis of modernity, liberalism has created and sustains horrible, abysmal environments, sharpened through the evil blade of capitalism, that corrupts all culture, ruins the spirits of all its citizens. If anarchism can accurately be referred to as anti-authoritarian socialism, then national anarchism can likewise be called anti-authoritarian separatism. And this is partially because national anarchism realizes that statism creates the opposite of what the far right want. The productions of modernity we witness today, the decline in cultural and racial homogeny, false associations between the races, which only exist because the states present today. For naturally, people have the choice to live with their own ancestral folk, they would self-separate, never having entered into the same space as people of different ancestral types. If you one day create a large civilization or even something the size of a city, for the sake of preserving the homogeny and genes of a white population, the state, if it falls under its privately owned territory, will seize it, force such a community to incorporate different races into its confines. In national anarchism, entire cities, villages, townships, and so on will be racially homogenous based upon the democratic will of the people who self-govern themselves, horizontally. But no nations.
Sounds like some big brain nibba type stuff. Okay. This is some big brain. Okay. So this is what national anarchism. Okay. So allegedly you can just go ahead and break off and they'll be racially homogenous, but there's no state. How are you going to defend yourself? Once again, I mean, this is something that, of course, Nazbols like me will try to talk about. How are you going to defend yourself without a state? Apart from the Zapatistas, how in the world do you expect to defend yourself? I don't really get that. Okay, go ahead.
Never countries, aside from the state forcing people to be together, nations as well commit the same crime. Once one enters into a state-defined territory, they're not permitted exit, that is, unless they pay a massive fee to leave, the antithesis of a voluntary association. So someone of European descent who grows up in, for example, South Africa, is in almost entirely black area, born in that place, won't be able to leave their country, because the land, what defines such a territory, is privatized. Nation-states are based upon private property, and visas, immigration documents, passports, etc. only exist so that the capitalists who privately possess such institutions, laying down the fees, can make massive profits. Someone in future Europe who will be born inhabiting an extremely racially diverse country won't be able to leave such confines. With open borders, however...
Yeah, I did speed it up. I'll go ahead and bring it back down. Okay, there we go.
Absolute abolition of restrictions on freedom of movement, an essential part of freedom of association. People who are racially conscious, including all present-day racial separatists, will simply cluster together into autonomous territories and cities that reflect their biological makeup. It's actually borders which permit for false associations amongst the races, not prevent them. If borders didn't exist today...
So this is the whole thing that I have with anarchism in the first place. To me, this is why I don't really understand anarchism in a lot of ways, because it's just like, well, we'll still have contracts and stuff like that, but it'll be more, it'll just be more looser, basically. This is the whole problem, that I have with these sorts of ideas. It's just like, well, we'll still have contracts. We'll still have, this type of stuff that goes on. But ultimately, it'll just work itself out. It's like, no, it doesn't always do that. So, yeah, this is pie in the sky stuff. This is all pie in the sky LARPing. I'm sorry. But, yeah, go ahead.
Anyone stuck in a district or country they don't like, perhaps because of diversity or multiculturalism or the curse of modernity, can move to homogeneous, monocultural, and traditionalist areas of the world immediately, without restraint upon them by means of the state. The way ancestral foreigners and foreign cultures are kept out of national anarchist communities is through that of the democratic community, organized and decentralized, which prevents entry from outsiders it doesn't approve of. And whilst this happens, make sure to check up on the cultural and traditional tendencies of its insiders, its people, to make sure they're living life healthier and happier. Typically, a national anarchist community is a pluralistic voluntary association of people based upon ethnic, racial, and religious homogeny, which are monocultural, traditionalist, and identitarian. One which resides within an eco-village, environmentally friendly, green anarchist space without a state present. Now, on to defining a state. How I define a state is almost the same as how Max Weber does, only in being a bit more inclusive, specifying things a little extra. A group or group of people, or multiple associations of cooperating individuals who form a ruling class, that being an established political order where they hold a monopoly on the utilization
Oh, I just realized. This is the guy. Okay, hold on. I just realized it. This is the guy that was. Okay. This is the guy that had the curly hair and everything else that debated Julie. Oh, holy shit. It took me long enough. So, this is the dude that debated Julie. He was the Australian dude who had the curly hair, and he used to call himself an anarchist and was talking about fascism is bad and everything. Oh, and then after he had his, after Julie debated him, or was it Julie or Twist? I think it was Twist. Maybe it was Twist because, yeah, he's a fellow Aussie, I think. But it's like, okay, I remember this now. Oh, it took me long. Yeah, it took me long enough to think about. Yeah. That's who that guy is. Oh, okay. And now I know who this is. Okay. It took me long enough. I'm like, I know I've heard this guy before. That's who it is. Yeah, he's the Australian dude that was debating that. And then Twist made a video talk because this guy made a real shit video. This guy who now calls himself a national anarchist. This guy did a shit video about George Sorrell. He did a shit video about that. And because of that, Twist made a response video to it. And apparently, got him so BTFO that he became more of a fascist, I think. Oh, it took me a minute to realize that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's who that is. Okay, I'm bugging. I'm sorry, folks, I'm bugging. It took me long enough because he showed his face, and I'm like, bruh, you go ahead.
of force, violence, and control within either a geographically defined territory or in context to the people they're governing over, usually through the exercise of hierarchical institutions. For example, in the contemporary era, the state in America is a centralized administration which lays claim to violence, because it utilizes policing institutions to carry out violence, force, and control against its vertically governed masses, that are the working class, the poor, individuals at the bottom of the political pyramid. So an anarchist society would have no police force. Before people who aren't familiar with anarchist self-defense start freaking out, no need to worry. For almost all of human history, we've lived and thrived without states, what reactionaries refer to as good times, with police being an extremely recent invention. Instead of a specific squad of people dealing with crimes, rules are enforced polycentrically in a participatory democracy. Intervention occurs at random by means of the will of the masses. If certain people fail to intervene in violent affairs to prevent harm from occurring to others, then members of the community can exile or punish them for their vices. So, because of its
Yeah, this guy. Okay. Yeah, I remember this guy now. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. It took me long enough. Yeah, this is a guy. I remember I discovered him. He did like some random video about some anarchist type stuff. So apparently, yeah, he used to call himself more of a right winger and more of an alt-right sort of guy. And he used to have the Sonnenrad and everything. Real cringe type of stuff. And then he became an ANCOM, I guess you could say. And then when he had his debate with, or he did that shit video, and then Twist responded to him and made his own video, and now he's more of a national anarchist. Oh, that's who this. Okay, it took me long enough to figure that out. I'm like, oh shit, that's who that is. Okay.
Living, where national anarchist communities will usually be made up of anywhere from 50 to 150 people each, though a national anarchist society can be of any population size, really just that it's more pragmatic and effective to live in small, communitarian, high-trust tribes. There is a massive reduction of crime. Not only is most violent crime a result of...
He also probably realized that once he saw idiots like E. American Johnson, a.k.a. Non-Compete, and that they were bigging him up. They're like, oh, yeah, what a great video you did talking about how fascism is bad. Oh, okay. I remember that. Okay, go ahead. It suddenly struck me. Yeah.
Capitalism.
But yeah. I mean, once you meet people like that, once you meet people like E. American Johnson in real life, or at least you talk to him on stream, you're like, oh, this guy's full of shit. Go ahead.
Because of artificially manufactured poverty for the sake of enriching a few employers or wage labor, where everything or almost everything is privatized and people commit crimes of desperation in such circumstances, but because of small-scale living, members of a community have an organic incentive not to hurt others, because they care for other people, and they also don't want to be thrown out of their living space. Troy Southgate made an important remark on the issue of centralization, of statism, and its overwhelming negative effects on traditional pacts, on that of the tribal spirit. The fact that people have put so much power in the hands of the state has meant that the traditions and values of our communities are becoming eroded at an alarming rate. National laws and constitutions are a relatively modern phenomenon, and to suppose that humans are incapable of organizing themselves into close kin communities is to hand over total responsibility to the state. Think about it. Do you really wish to leave things to the businessmen, the politicians, the counselors, the judges, the bailiffs, the tax collectors, the landlords, the soldiers, the police, and the teachers, or would you prefer to see power, wealth, and arms restored to the community where it belongs? The less we depend on the state and its institutions, the more irrelevant it will become. Once it happens, of course, it will become superfluous to requirements.
Superfluous. Learn how to pronounce words, man. Come on. I screw up pronouncing words all the time, but come on, man. All right, go ahead. That's just a nitpick. All right, so I'm really trying to think of it. So, do you really want to leave things in the hands of the business? People are lazy. All right, look. Do I think that I want to leave it in the hands of businessmen and politicians or counselors, judges, bailiffs, tax collectors, landlords, soldiers, and police? For to see it in the community, it's like, well, the thing is that the community would be made up of police and teachers and tax collectors, some businessmen, politicians, and counselors. Like they would be part. So that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Okay, go ahead.
And will be swept away. We fight, therefore, for the community against the state. And on the racial aspects of national anarchism, Southgate states, as far as the left is concerned, national anarchism is simply a form of generic fascism, or, according to some of the more paranoid theories, a right-wing conspiracy devoted to the subversion of the left itself. Needless to say, this interpretation is incorrect, and national anarchists are vigorously opposed to statism and reaction in all forms. At the same time, the national component of the term national anarchism centers on the fact that some of us are racial separatists. Needless to say, while we wish to form anarchist communities that are ethnically organic, we also oppose negative...
See, the thing is, I think ultimately, look, I can't even necessarily contradict his video without doing some real in-depth research, but the thing is, all I can do is talk about it on a personal level. I think with this guy is that he was more of a white nationalist and still believed in must state. He became an anarchist, and he still wants to believe in anarchism. So instead of leaving and abandoning anarchism, he says, holy shit, there's this thing called national anarchism. Oh man, wowee. And so he grabs on, he latches onto that instead. I think that's really what it is, isn't it? Yeah. You've got that eternal idiotic idea of anarchy. If anarchy came, it would come from the poor. Why should it? The poor have been rebels, but they have never been anarchists. Yeah, they have more interest than anyone else in there being some decent government. The poor man has a stake in the country. The rich man hasn't. He can go away to New Guinea and yeah, that's true. The poor have sometimes objected to being governed badly. The rich have always objected to being governed at all. Aristocrats will always be anarchists. Yeah, that's true. That's why anarchism is always something of a bougie type thing. But yeah, go ahead.
Counterproductive attitudes that encourage racial hatred or mindless violence. Race-based politics have nearly always been the domain of right-wing organizations, but the fact that national anarchists are prepared to address this thorny issue should not cause people to wrongly dismiss us as yet another right-wing organization committed to promoting white supremacy, because national anarchism itself transcends both left and right. We are not supremacist, racist, statist, or...
Then just call yourself a Nazbol. Why don't you just call yourself a Nazbol, and then if you want to have your own separate little communities, you can do that. I mean, that you can do that. You can have a big... See, here's the thing. Here's the thing to me. Maybe this is some real big brain type stuff, but it's like, okay, if you want to create your own little separate thing, okay, fine. But the thing is, it's just like, I don't get it. Go ahead. Maybe I'm just too ignorant.
In addition, the German National Socialists and Italian Fascists of the 20th century aligned themselves with large banking interests and betrayed the more socialistic aspects of their original programs.
Once again, so you allude to National Bolshevism, but you don't want to align with that because you didn't want to read Karl Otto Pytel. So, okay, bro, go ahead.
We are genuinely anarchists and proud of that fact. For some national anarchists, race defines who we are and provides us with an identity and exists for a damn good reason. Without maintaining this essential diversity, something you can find.
See, I get very tired of this type of thing because it's like, bruh, I can just read it myself. Why do you have to read it for me? That's why I try not to do that. I'd rather just read it out loud.
Throughout history, the world of anarchism in general. Capitalist, post-statist, Volkish structures by means of
Volkish structures. Oh my goodness. Oh, bruh. Did you just sit? Hold on. Let's go back here for a minute. Let's go back. Oh my goodness. Okay. This guy. Okay. Go ahead.
granted to all individuals, regardless of their ethnicity or race. No one, no state or individual has a right to force you to be with them, to come under their grasp. You have a right, just as they have a right, to that of privacy and to that of freedom of association. And as a natural expression of this thought, you should never be
and you use Ukraine? Bruh. Go ahead.
forced to interact with people of a different ethnic group or race if you don't want to, because seeing you are free by nature, unbound by any authoritarian demands from others, you have the natural right to your bodily autonomy, to individualism. Thus, the right to individualism includes the right to
Fed posting.
collectivism. You should be free to live your own collective, not with collectives forced upon you.
Bruh. Why did... bruh. Okay, let's go ahead and point these out here, because I know some of the divisions that are part of it. Okay. So here's the... I think this was the 38th Reichswehr SS Division. This is the 5th SS Viking Division. 9th SS Hohenstaufen. The 1st SS Liebstandarte. The 3rd SS Totenkopf. 6th SS, this is the Hungarian Fascist Heroes Party. I'm not sure. This must be a Russian one. I can't remember them all. But anyway. Okay.
You have the right.
Oh, I'm sorry. 12th SS Hitlerjugend.
To move wherever you want, with no privatization of transport,
Let me tell you something. I don't preach about Volkish stuff because I'm not a complete LARPer. You know, once again, this isn't 2015, all right? There are plenty of people that are out there, I'm sure. They're like, let's go ahead and post our Europa type thing. I'm sure that they exist. I'm sure that they do. But in general, on the internet, you don't see that type of thing because people have moved on from it because they realize it's, number one, it's boring as fuck. It's played out. Number two is people have caught on to that game. And so you have to move on to another hustle. So I don't, god damn, go ahead. I'm sorry. Lord have mercy.
Housing, which prevents freedom of movement. Bosses, teachers, masters, countries, landlords are all based upon involuntary associated functions. Ethno-voluntarism asserts that one has the right to associate and disassociate from whichever ethnic and racial group one wants, to live with who one wants without any compromise to this production of natural law. As that guy T once put it,
well, this unfortunate appears that Guy T is taken down.
national anarchism seeks to create post-capitalist, post-statist, Volkish structures by means of succeeding from governments and private businesses to create new worker self-managed firms and establish a true democracy, not a bourgeois scam that merely calls itself a democracy. Self-employment, common ownership and control over the means of production. Anarchism seeks libertarian socialism in a world filled with privatized despotism. For a really long time, I thought white nationalism was the only solution to the racial integralist crisis of the West. I was a white nationalist for so long, thinking there could never be anything else that matched my interest. Then I lost sight of the movement when I became increasingly aware of its inactivity, its absence of creating actual new societies.
Yeah,
there was never going to be an ethno-state.
No,
there will never be. I abandoned white nationalism when this realization hit me, when I knew that following along with the alt-right wasn't actually adding any positivity.
Well, it's also because you're an Aussie, mate. So, you know, or I think he's either an Aussie or he's a Kiwi. I think he's Aussie though. It's like Biggin. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
to the planet.
He's not wrong.
My mistake was heading into intersectional leftism, into a racial integralist multicultural strain of anarchism. I thought there couldn't possibly be any other options, any other opportunities. Just, why?
Learn how to pronounce other. God damn. What is with Aussies? What is with the Aussies? Other. Yeah, I mean that's. I know that's kind of how they talk in the north of England, but it's like learn how to pronounce words. National anarchists. They are. This is absolute cringe. Go ahead.
White nationalism or intersectionality. That's
Intersectionality. Go ahead.
you have to be an intersectional feminist or a white nationalist, and you can't possibly find a non-authoritarian alternative to what the right want. National anarchism, in its uniqueness, in its pragmatic approach to new ways of life, opposes itself.
See, the thing is, this is a guy, once again, as I've said, this is a guy who still wants to hold on to the idea of racial purity, this and that. But it's like, but we want freedom and we want anarchism too, though. Oh, we just don't want capitalism to take us down, folks. And it's just like, bruh, that's gay, dude. It's like, for me, I don't even preach about racial purity, this and that. But ultimately, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm just pretty black pill about stuff in general. I just feel like, you know what? I'd rather just just let the United States fall, and whatever comes up is probably going to be a whole hell of a lot better than what it is now. I'll just tell you that right now. It'll probably eventually be a whole hell of a lot better. Not in my lifetime. Yeah, definitely not in my lifetime, but maybe later on it will be. So yeah, but yeah, I do preach the idea that the United States is a dead country. United States never really existed in any practical way. The United States is just a giant corporation at this point. So I do believe that to a point. But I also feel like, well, you got to learn to play the game as well. And people like this will eternally live in kind of a Peter Pan sort of world where it's just like, I'm going to choose this real random, let's go ahead and talk about this random, completely underground type of group that will have no significant power whatsoever. And I'd rather LARP about that than actually try to do something. You see what I'm saying? That's what they're doing. I don't really, that's why I don't get this whole idea. Because history has shown is that there's always going to be some sort of state control or some sort of, homogeneity. Not even necessarily in race, but in terms of law, in terms of taxing, in terms of whatever the case may be, there's some sort of homogeneity that has to happen. So this idea that, we're just going to have national anarchism where we just naturally separate based on race and it's just, no, that's unrealistic. Go ahead.
Both to white nationalism and intersectional anarchism. There's never going to be a white nationalist revolution, nor parliamentary change where we'll someday, somehow, vote in a white nationalist candidate. Absolutely, utterly absurd. Yet many on the alternative right have, unfortunately, fooled themselves into believing this nonsense. Perhaps, just perhaps, now...
I don't think a lot of them have. I mean, there are some that do, yeah, I mean, but I think that a lot of those folks realize, like, for example, the National Justice Party, it's a LARP. People, I think they do realize that to a point. I think even Eric Stryker realized it to a point. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and suck his cock. What I will say is that to a point, I think he does realize it's a LARP. It's not going to happen. But, that's my take anyway. Go ahead. Let's finish this Feihua up. This is ridiculous, though.
National anarchism is the only realistic alternative. The only way of achieving anarchism, socialism, and racial separation is sustaining both proletarianism and traditionalism, because it seeks to create new communities independent of any state, of any political entities, and instead seeks to work outside the system, not within it. When I sat down and learned about national anarchism, even as an intersectional leftist, immediately I was on board. And all that time I spent engulfed by the flames of leftism.
This sounds like cope. Once again, yeah, this idea is like, well, even when I was an intersectional leftist, I liked the idea of national anarchism. This is a guy who is just going to continue to... See, the thing is, he falls into Wignatism himself, and he doesn't even realize it. He has fallen into the idea that it's like, yeah, he's absolutely correct when he says, yeah, there's not going to be some white nationalist party that's going to be voted in and everything's going to be, we're going to have, Maboogaloo or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's true. But to think that your national anarchism is going to do anything different, no, it isn't. It's a pipe dream. I mean, for people like me at this point, like I say, I will loosely call myself a Nosbo, but I am not super attached to that idea. And of course, people are going to say, oh, you sound like you're an opportunist. To a point, I am. I'll be honest. Mask off. I will say I'm an opportunist to a point. But I'll learn to play the game, whatever that is. That's the difference between me and you, though, sir. You want to live in this fantasy of, oh, well, national anarchism is really the way to go. Get the fuck out of here. You just want to keep making videos because it's all you know. Go ahead.
The intersectional development had vanished, in opposition to the statist despotism of ancestral cosmopolitanism, something so horrible that it has to be forced on people by a state, since very few to no people would live in diversity if given an actual choice.
And let me tell you something. When you use the whole Guy Fawkes mask, I'm just going to tell you right now, can we anyone that uses the Guy Fawkes mask or tries to masquerade and that sort of thing and calls himself anonymous is an idiot. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Anyone who uses the anonymous mask unironically, with the Guy Fawkes look, when you do that, we should just shame those people. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Like, no, you should shame those people who continue who put on those anonymous masks and think that they're actually doing something. But even then, I know that it doesn't exist the same way it used to, but any fool that does, just shame them. Don't hurt them. Don't do anything bad to them, but just shame them because they deserve that. Because it's such cringe. Oh, Lord have mercy. Go ahead. Nuts. Okay, go ahead.
An anarchism freed of its intersectional and degenerative elements would make a fine hammer and sickle. Combine it with anarchist communism, that is the gift economy, each according to their ability, each according to the needs.
This guy is he's so desperately trying to hang on to his, because he just gave up on white nationalism and decided it wasn't going to happen. So instead, he can't think of anything without an ideology. He cannot attach himself or try to see himself in any way without an ideology. For me, I don't give a fuck about ideology necessarily. I don't care about it. Neither did the recent incarnation of Joker. He didn't care about ideology. He's just like, fuck it. I just want to do crazy shit. And it's like, and that's how most people feel. They don't care about an ideology. They're not attached to some idea where it's just like, oh, we need to keep up the revolution. Hoorah. Ideology can serve a purpose, but you shouldn't make that into your personality. I'll put it that way. But yeah, go ahead.
You've got a perfect society. For more on national anarchism for those...
Please don't use words like perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect society, all right? Even I have to say, there's no perfect society out there. There's always going to be mistakes. All right, it's like if you get married. You don't say, oh yeah, our marriage is perfect. Because the minute that you say your marriage is perfect, your wife is sleeping with the pool boy. So no, don't never say perfect. Let that leave your vocabulary. Just say, we're working for a better society. That's it. Work for a better one. Not perfection. You shouldn't be looking for perfection. Yeah, go ahead.
Curious. I recommend you read The National Anarchist Manifesto by Troy Southgate, or Tradition and Revolution, also written by Troy Southgate, alongside Keith Preston's book, Thinkers Against Modernity.
Nah, don't care. Okay, that was gay.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again.
Let me see here. Guy Fawkes won the, Said the comments of this video, National Anarchism is a logical conclusion of panarchy and synthesis anarchism. The problem is panarchy and anarchism is idealist nonsense. It is. Yeah. Yep. I do. I agree with that comment that Pierre Trudenk wrote. Yeah. It is. I mean, it's just utter ridiculousness. Yeah. Guy Fawkes won the theocratic Catholic Republic, the literal opposite of anarchism. I think part of why Guy Fawkes' mask is an anarchist symbol is because, V for Vendetta. It makes no sense to me, does it? Does it? I mean, why would you? Is this? Yeah, go ahead. Let's go ahead and review this video because it came up in my feed and I said, what the hell? Let's go ahead and do it.
So today we're going to talk about what President Donald J. Trump didn't say yesterday. Because everybody was talking about what he did.
I don't hang on every word that Donald Trump says. I don't. You guys do, but I don't. Go ahead.
And what he did say doesn't matter. Not really. He said something to the effect of, we need to get rid of the ballots, talking about mail-in ballots or something. And everybody feigned surprise. It's not shocking. It's not surprising. He's a modern Republican. Yeah, he wants to suppress the vote. That's like their thing. The only thing they like suppressing more than the vote is suppressing poor people. What he didn't say, what he wouldn't commit to, that's what matters. Because he said that when he was asked another question. He was asked directly if he would commit to making sure there was a peaceful transferal of power. And he wouldn't. He wouldn't make that commitment.
Oh boy, I really don't believe. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, and maybe we will have some sort of civil war or something like that. But the thing is that I really don't believe Donald Trump is going to hold on to power like that. I don't believe it. I could be proven wrong, but I really don't believe he's willing to do that. And more to the point, as much as people want to talk shit on YouTube or Twitter or whichever social media, you aren't going to do a damn thing about it. Not one iota. But yeah, go ahead.
He wasn't asked if he would accept the election results. He wasn't asked if he would, avoid taking it to court. He wasn't asked if he would concede election night. He was asked if he would commit to a peaceful transferal of power, and he wouldn't. That's shocking. That
is it? I mean, like I say, I don't believe it. I'll be honest with you. Once again, I don't believe this. Oh my gosh. Because someone, to me, I see it like a kid. Like, I'm not going to do my homework. I'm not going to clean that. But then under the threat of force, you're going to do it because you don't feel like getting you don't feel like getting smacked in the face. You don't feel like getting spanked. So you do what your dad tells you to or do what your mom tells you to, right? So I don't really get this whole type of thing where it's just like, oh, well, he refused to do it. Go ahead.
That's surprising. That's alarming.
I think that there's just so much fear built up. There's just so much fear built up from these types of people. And people like this are just stirring the pot. They're fanning the flames and keeping the flames going. I do think it's disgusting. I'm not going to, like I say, once again, I'm not going to sit here and be a MAGA Pete and say, oh, Trump is great. But I don't see it happening. I don't think Trump has the cojones to try and, declare himself dictator for life. I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. If any bit of force is placed on him, then he'll just say, okay, I'll go. I just don't see it. I don't see it. That's my honest opinion. To me, this is just shit talking. This is just people running their mouths. But I could be proven wrong. I could be. Like I say, I say that because it's like, well, who knows? Maybe the Civil War will really pop off. I don't know. But yeah, and Twitter is filled with mainstream movie memes. Yeah. Consume. Yeah. Get excited for next product. Exactly.
That's something everybody in the country should be paying attention to. That lack of a commitment is more important than any campaign promise. That needs to be weighing on everybody's mind. If he won't commit to a peaceful transferal of power, what makes you think he'll commit to it in 4 years?
I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe that'll be proven, once again, I'm just repeating myself, but go ahead. I love that Mean Mug. He's very good at what he does. I will say this. He will stare into the camera and Mean Mug people and try to, intimidate people with his looks by saying you should do this or you should feel bad about this.
What he wouldn't say, what he wouldn't commit to, is incredibly important. It is more important than any single issue. It is more.
Like I say, someone tells him to say these things, and he has admitted that people write his scripts for him. This is not him complete. This is not him completely. I think there was that one Jewish libertarian gal. I cannot think of her name offhand. The one that did a video about Israel that got like 1 million views or something. I cannot think of her name. But anyway, the one that's like a yoga gal. And she has admitted, or at least he has admitted, that he writes the scripts for these videos. So, like I say, it's just, yeah. Presidential election is just like Harry Potter. Yeah, it really is at this point, yeah. I've seen both. Yeah, they're both gay. I don't like tattoos.
More important than party lines. The only way I know of to avoid that concern is to make sure he loses in a landslide.
Oh, I love that anger. I love that anger. Once again, it's just like every other year. It's like every other 4 years with the presidential election. It doesn't matter who you vote for. You might as well just, I saw this take on Twitter, but I think it does ring true to a point is, why invest money into a political party or a political candidate when you can just donate to and you can buy stock in the corporations that are funding them? Why not just do that? Just give, just buy some stock with Amazon, buy some stock with Marathon Oil, and you might as well get some money on the back end. You might as well do that instead of donating directly to a campaign or to a, once again, I think it goes to show just how broken this country is. But more to the point is how none of us have any answers because we don't want to give up the luxuries that we have. That's really what it is, too. We don't want to give up the lifestyle that we have in this nation. We don't want to go backwards. We don't want to. That's really what it is. You can go ahead and try to be like, oh, it's about freedom. Oh, it's about, democratic control, this and that. No. You don't want a revolution because you don't want to lose the lifestyle that you have. And I'll be honest, that's how I feel too, to a point. But I realize is that it's going to happen regardless for whatever reason you want to pull out. Whether it's climate change, whether it's this type of shit, something's got to break somewhere. Something's got to give. So this idea, once again, you're just delaying the inevitable with voting. You are. So yeah, I don't get it. Yeah. And that's my view anyway. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's what needs to happen. It's incredibly important that it happens.
So once again, this guy is an anarchist, or at least he has called himself an anarchist. But he is, of course, talking about voting. He needs to win in a landslide. It's just like, to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're voting, you're voting for just slightly different views. As I've said before with the hashtag resistance folks or whatever, people are still trying to hold on to the idea that somehow America's democracy, or it's not a democracy, but we can make it better. We can, let's do some 4D chess. We just have to get people on our side. It's all about winning hearts and minds. And to me, that is a cope. The reality is that most people just want to stay where they are and just to get paid a little bit better and to have some security. But the reality is, though, is that nobody can promise that. and it's just a fucking mess. Go ahead.
It was important for the nation's soul before.
Mm.
It may be important to the nation's security.
Mm.
He wouldn't commit to a peaceful transferal of power.
That's your assumption. I haven't seen the video because I don't care. I don't hang on every word that Donald Trump says. And I don't care whatever, idea that you think of. The thing is that you're promoting a lot of fear mongering. And the thing is, if Donald Trump actually loses and you say that he's going to refuse this and that, I don't, you're just fear mongering at this point. You are no better than the right wing that you claim to hate. You're a hypocrite. But that's just me. Go ahead.
He refused to commit to that.
Yeah.
When somebody tells you who they are, when they show you who they are, who they really are,
Yeah. Kind of like you, sir. Kind of like you. As much as you claim to be an anarchist, this and that, you still support electoralism, this bourgeoisie electoralism. You still support, getting Biden in, and, you'll say that his foreign policy is better, this and that. So, yeah, you have shown your true stripes as well. As much as you claim to be, this person or that person, you were nothing more than a hypocrite. Go ahead.
better believe him. And he just showed the entire country who he is.
Mm-hmm.
I hope people are paying attention.
Nah, I'm not.
Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
I will say this, is that I get a little tired of sometimes the paranoia does come up. And I did it plenty over the time that I was in quarantine. Where it's just like, oh, the revolution's right around the corner, everybody. Rah! But the more I sober up, the more I realize that it's not going to be that easy. And it's not going to be the way anybody puts it at all. So, yeah. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. I'll go ahead and play this All Right playbook. We're not going to watch this whole thing, but we'll watch enough of it. Okay?
Say, for the sake of argument, it's the start of another week at the office, and you and your coworkers are milling around the break room, putting off getting to work because until you sit down at your desk, the week hasn't actually started. Mostly you're chatting about what you all got up to over the weekend and how you can't wait for the next season of Killing Eve. But then the new guy, who doesn't know any better, starts talking about the healthcare system and what he thinks is wrong with it. The rest of you all know what this means. If talk turns political, you have to hear the opinions of the guy from payroll. Guy from payroll takes issue with the new guy's comments about how patients in many other countries pay less for better outcomes. Guy from payroll thinks overhauling the healthcare system would be a long and difficult process to create a system where he would pay higher taxes and have fewer options. And all for what? He doubts socialized medicine, if it even worked, would be worth the trade-offs, and even lets slip the phrase, "Do Democrats think they can live forever?"
Who has ever heard that phrase? Once again, where are these people going? Are they going on Reddit? I remember hearing Jason Unruh. He was on some live stream, I think he was on that Ewok Unlimited or whoever he was. And he's like, oh, I went on Reddit and talked and saw some Trump supporters. It's like, no, your opinion is invalid because you went on Reddit. I'm sorry. But yeah, go ahead.
To cut the tension, someone starts talking about their kids who've just started at a new school. But talking about school leads to talking about safety drills, and talking about safety drills leads to talking about school shootings, and now the new guy's on gun reform. And he speaks passionately about how easily monsters can get their hands on assault rifles. But payroll counters that even if you get rid of every gun in the country, criminals will just import them. A bad person can always find a way to do bad things.
Or they could make them. Or you get guys that have 3D printers and everything else that can, produce weapons and everything else. All you need is just a rifle barrel and, the internal stuff. And yeah, you got yourself a firearm, The real question is it as good as a regular weapon today? That's a whole other issue, but still. Go ahead.
And why should he, as a responsible gun owner, be punished for the crimes of a monster? There is, again, an uncomfortable silence. Guy from payroll fiddles with his tie. He doesn't like this any more than you. He just can't help himself. Someone tries.
This just, once again, this sounds very unrealistic, doesn't it? Because number one, if you've worked in the office for long enough, you don't talk about politics. You just don't do it. It's like you don't talk politics at the dinner table. You don't talk politics at work. You don't do it. Unless it's kind of like, unless you're working in a trade where everyone's kind of vaguely conservative, you don't do it. It's like, you just don't. People don't do that. Yeah, build straw man, tear down, big brain. Exactly. Yep. If you went to a studio, would unironically get destroyed in the debate with Shapiro. He probably would, yeah. I mean, yeah, Innuendo Studio is just, all he can do is make these videos because he knows that if he was in a debate with anybody, he would get, his past would destroy him, him being, his ex going on live streams and shit like that. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. I'm just done.
To change the subject, but by now, New Guy is looking to win an argument, so he steers you straight to Roe v. Wade. And Payroll is off and running, talking about how beautiful childhood is and how...
Roe v. Wade. See, the thing is, this is the problem. I remember seeing this in a comment a few years ago, but it is true, is that the left does not want to understand the right, and the right does not want to understand the left. And there's a lot of truth to that. The left will paint, conservatives and the alt-right in the same picture and not realize that they are basically, they are two different things in a lot of ways. Ultimately, they still want to state, but, there are differences. And of course, people want to just view the left as anarchists and communists are the same. And even I know that's not the truth, but still, nobody wants to understand it. They just want to paint their enemies and call them the day and to build up their base and say, I'm going to do better for you. I can save you. It's kind of like the joke on Twitter, that goes back and forth, I can save her. And it's really what people look at when they look at a society. They're like, I can save them. That's all it is. But yeah, go ahead.
Wonderful it is to be a parent, and how it's tragic for any life to be cut short
views.
before it begins, and how evil it is to have state-sanctioned, but New Guy just can't keep his mouth shut. He says, if you wanted fewer abortions, you would promote comprehensive sex education and easy access to contraceptives, because that's all that has ever reliably lowered abortion rates in any country.
Yes.
All making it a...
All right. Sorry about that, folks. Go ahead.
crime does is determine whether the abortion happens in a doctor's office or a motel room.
Oh, boy. When does this ever happen? I would just like to say that. I mean, the thing is that even my professor, who claims to be more of a conservative, and he's I think he's more of a Protestant type of guy, but he claims to be more of a, conservative. Even he said, when he was talking about entrepreneurship, and he said, even I agree with Obama when he said that we didn't build that. So this idea, once again, that somehow this new guy who's probably vaguely left wing versus this, probably a conservative sort of guy, it's just unrealistic. You mean that there's no common ground anywhere? I don't believe that. Go ahead.
It is deathly silent.
This guy has never worked in an office, or if he has, it has been a long time and he doesn't understand. Go ahead.
People shuffle in place. Finally, without making eye contact, the guy from payroll just says, ugh, I hate Mondays.
Well, the thing is, eventually I would just walk away. Why? Number one, why would I want to endure all that type of thing? Why would I do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I do that? Okay. Sorry about that. I was just looking at my new book. All right. Let's go ahead and keep it going here.
Everybody shuffles off to their cubicles, scowling more at the new guy than at the guy from payroll, and another week officially begins.
Yeah, because they're used to the guy from payroll. They're used to him. The new guy is trying to make trouble. And he destroys the harmony. Dare I use that word like that? But he's ruining the harmony of the office. You know, sorry about that. Wait, aim the mic. There we go. Vaguely in my direction. Okay. But it's like, bruh, why would you decide to have some argument just to show your allegiances? Go ahead.
Much as it pains me to admit, Guy from Payroll
New guy
has
need
made
fired,
one
yeah.
genuinely good point this morning. Mondays
everybody-
suck. It is a truth universally acknowledged that the work week will end talking about how great Fridays are and begin 3 days later.
Oh, I remember this one. This is where he talks about the history of the alt-right and somehow... Okay, go ahead. I remember this one
Lamenting
now.
the
I
scourge
think-
of
I
Mondays.
think this is...
But what are you going to do? We can start work on Tuesdays and end on Saturdays, but that's just kicking the can down the week. The cold reality is, week's gotta start somewhere, and even your most unlikable coworker has a right to complain about it and get sympathy. But why am I talking about it? I'm a YouTuber. Mondays only suck for people with real jobs. Well, because what I want you to understand today is that the conservative thinks about people dying of preventable illnesses, school shootings, and back alley abortions the way you think about Mondays. The conservative mindset...
Oh, boy. Once again, does this guy understand the difference between conservatism versus far right, this and that? I mean, once again, this is something that I think that, once again, the left doesn't want to understand the difference between these two different things. Is that at least, and I'll put it this way, is that, yeah, they may be connected to a point. I will give them that. I will surrender that point. But the thing is, it's about rhetoric. Is that there will be wignats like Eric Stryker who will at least give lip service to the idea that, yeah, we need to have high-speed rail and we do need to have, better education and, more proper hospital care. But for the whites, that's the whole thing. This is the whole idea behind, at least the myth behind, National Socialism, this and that. So being able to just say, well, conservatives are this. And of course, it's always interesting to me, of course, the idea that there are some lefties who actually believe, oh, yeah, showing the footage of the Normandy beach landing. It's just like, these guys were anti-fascists. And of course, everyone just gives in, just like, they show the old, the survey that was done that shows that American soldiers were racist, this and that. Above all that, though, the actual ones that actually tried to fight Hitler in Germany, they were conservatives. Klaus von Stauffenberg, he would be considered a conservative. He was a monarch, or at least some of those guys were monarchists. So once again, the actual ones that did try to kill Hitler, the ones that came a little bit closer, they were monarchists and conservatives. You fucking God! Okay. Go ahead.
tends to sort things into binaries with no room for scale.
Okay.
Mass shootings either
That's fine,
happen
Rendondonian. I
or they
understand you
don't.
got things to do.
You can talk
Have
about
a good
how
one,
much
though.
safer countries with robust gun control.
I'll go ahead and pause it. That way you can hear. But yeah, have a good one, Rendondonian. Have a good one. Goodbye. Okay.
are, and they'll just say, here's a shooting that happened in England. Here's a shooting that happened in Australia. Gun control didn't stop them. You can't regulate evil. And this is the kind of sentence that can drive you up the wall because
Why?
it is, on its face, obviously true, but it's only applicable in this context thanks to the word that's implied but not stated. You can't regulate all evil. Yes, since they've had gun control, there have been shootings in England and Australia. Does it matter that these shootings are far less deadly and have...
Once again, I think I said that, you know what? I actually remember doing a response video to this. I think it was like an hour long, so that's kind of cringe. But I will say is that the whataboutism that does need to be talked about here, particularly in the United Kingdom, is that, okay, without without guns, and of course the thing is that now, one of the other, if you got a license for that, that butter knife that's in your hand, do you have a license for that butter knife that's in your hand, sir? There's that joke, but there's also the whole idea of they just throw acid in people's faces. That's something that isn't talked about, is it? So it's like, violence is going to be done regardless. But it's like, yeah, to have gun control, this and that, And also to compare Australia and then the UK and then comparing that to the United States. Bruh, once again, Australia being a colony of the UK, it just, bruh, come on, man. Go ahead.
Happen far less often? Does it matter that making guns harder to get has saved tens of thousands of lives? Like, do we really need to explain why stores put junk food you know you shouldn't buy right next to the checkout counter? Because the easier it is to do a thing, the more it happens. The mentality.
The thing is, it's just here's the real argument that I have. It's like, yeah, the easier to do a thing, the more it happens. Well, then you bet, once again, they said I will give the same type of conservative type of argument where it's like, well, then you better get rid of knives and swords, as much as, as LARPers that there are, and then bricks or whatever the case may be. So once again, that sort of mindset doesn't, it mads me to no end. Go ahead.
Mentality here is that if you can't stop every shooting, you shouldn't bother stopping any. If you can't save every life, there's no point improving healthcare. Nothing short of literally defeating death will be good enough. It is a wholesale rejection of thinking in terms of systems. Notice how Payroll phrases his argument, a bad person can always find a way to do bad things. Person. Singular. If a criminal can still get...
So once again, we kind of have the idea here. This is a good contrast in a way. So we were talking about national anarchism and talking about that Aussie guy who used to be a white nationalist and then he became more of an ANCOM, an intersectional leftist, as he put it, and then he became a national anarchist. And he's talking about systems and everything else. And now we're talking about more of, is it obviously Innuendo Studios wants the idea of a state as well to a point. He doesn't imply anarchism outright, because he's more of a democratic socialist. But anyway. So, yeah, I mean, this is a good contrast anyway. Go ahead.
Get a gun, they extrapolate that every criminal can get a gun, in the same way that if a poor person can get a job, every poor person can get a job. Which, no!
I don't think anyone's ever said that. Once again, I think that, yeah, some conservatives do believe that, but I think that the majority do not think that. Once again, who are you talking to? I am dead curious, because I guarantee that Innuendo Studios, this guy Ian Danskin, and no, I'm not doxing him. He has it in his Twitter bio, I think, that his name is Ian Danskin, but it's like, who are you talking to get these ideas or to think that this happens? I think that this is, once again, this is something that is made up in your mind, that every bad person must want to get a gun. No. They're going to use what's available. Once again, I mean, I remember listening to Prodigy of Mobb Deep when he wrote his book. It's like, we had, it's like, yo, we were going on stage in Cincinnati or something like that. And motherfuckers wanted to come at us. So we were sharpening up our, we were sharpening up we were sharpening up spoons and sharpening up forks and shit like that and keeping them on our back. They were, so they had... so they had their shanks ready, just like they were in prison. So it's like, I don't really get this whole type of thing where it's like, oh, well, everyone has a gun. Just like every poor person can get hired. What type of straw man is this? It's just, go ahead.
If there are fewer jobs than people who need them, there's going to be unemployment. And if there are fewer guns than people who want to shoot them, there's going to be less gun crime. If they talked about populations of people, they'd have to acknowledge that some percentage succeeds at doing bad things and a percentage fails. And since percentages are different across cultures, we must have some influence over them.
Uh-oh. Percentages are different across cultures? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go Wignet here for a moment. But are you saying that things are different across cultures? Are you acknowledging that there are differences between people? I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go Wignet here for a moment. But are you, once again, bruh, are you counter-signaling the movement? Are you counter-signaling what the left talks about? What are you doing? Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. That was too easy. Too easy. Go ahead.
But a binaristic model of things either happen or they don't leaves no room for percentages. Was there a shooting? then there is still evil in the world. A conservative will generally agree with you about what the ills of society are: bigotry, violence, disease, oppression, poverty. But they don't view them as problems to be solved. They are facts of life. Of course, racism.
Well, the thing is, yeah. I mean, even I have to say once again, with conservatives, like, yeah, these things are going. Okay, let me go through. Let's go through that list one more time. Let's go through that. Hold on.
For percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a shooting? Then there is still evil in the world. A conservative will generally agree with you about what the ills of society are: bigotry, violence, disease, oppression, poverty.
Okay. So bigotry, you know what? I will try to be somewhat charitable here and say this: bigotry, to a point, is created by capitalism. All right, I will give it to you. I will give it to you on that. You know, I'll be somewhat SJW-esque and say that. Is it somewhat bigotry is created because of capitalism and the idea that this person can get a job versus that person cannot, and this white, you know, is that, and you can go into various things, you know, whether it's you know, how colleges work. I'm trying to think of the term, but anyway, basically, is allowing some people to get jobs and other people's not, and other people not to. Violence. Violence is a very broad term, and maybe we need to read some more George Sorrell. But the thing is that violence is a very, very random thing. Disease just happens. You cannot completely get rid of disease. Oppression, you know, once again, oppression and poverty, that goes hand in hand with how capitalism is. So I will give you that. But to say, hold on.
But they don't view them as problems to be solved. They are facts.
Well, hold on. See, now this is disingenuous to me, though. Okay, so disease is a fact of life for human beings, as we are carbon-based life forms, as we are, and we are susceptible to, you know, all sorts of, you know, being allergic to plants or certain, you know, foods or whatever the case may be. Now, of course, that comes up for different reasons, but you know, some of this are facts of life, though. They just happen, and the thing is that it's the same type of thing. When you hear about another person getting killed, you kind of get numb to it. You know, I imagine that some people that are, you know, it's like that guy, you know, the guy who killed himself. You know, those cops, I'm sure, have seen that type of thing, but it's just like, it just kind of happens. I hate to say that, but, you know, people get numb, bro. Can you understand that? Go ahead.
Of life. Of course, racism is terrible, but it's a Monday. Trying to
see, now, once again, I mean, I will say this I'm trying to be good faith here in Innuendo Studios. He has failed to make the connection between conservatives and right-wingers, or, you know, you know what? Go ahead. I can't.
Fight racism is like trying to fight the first law of motion. The only reason to even talk about it is to commiserate. Besides, if we didn't have bad white people, how would we know we're the good ones?
Why do you have to make it racial? Why do you have to make it racial? Could be some guy from the Dominican Republic. It could be, you know, some guy from Puerto Rico or wherever. But it's like, are you really just gonna say my white people? Why do you have to make it about race? Why do you have to pull out the race card, man? Oh, go ahead.
Morality to them is not about fighting evil. It is a set of shared opinions on what evil is. When bad things happen, we sit around agreeing that they are bad, and anyone who says otherwise, we excommunicate. That's what talking about tragedy is for.
Once again, this idea of fighting evil. See, the thing is, I'm really trying to understand this alt-right play, but when he says, okay, well, we're fighting evil, you know, it's like, okay, well, what does that mean, basically? And you talk about bigotry, racism, poverty, disease. I'm still kind of hung up on the disease part. I'm like, you can't really get rid of disease unless you want to be, unless you're a transhumanist or something. Then what are you talking about with? Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm still hung up on that. Go ahead.
And I think it's why they get so mad at us when we politicize.
Yeah, how does this makes sense for the alt-right playbook. He said, yeah, he is saying that conservatives doesn't want to change, but the alt-right does want to change. So yeah, it doesn't make sense for the understanding. It does. It really doesn't. He's really stretching this thing out here. This is a reach, to say the least. But yeah, go ahead.
Size tragedies, as in when yet another shooting happens, we talk about what could be done to prevent them. It's not just that they refuse to do anything about the problem, though it is definitely that. It's that we're not participating in the ritual of thoughts and prayers. Solemnity is how we perform our
Once
morals.
again, conservatives and liberals do the same thing. They do the same thing with that, the whole thoughts and prayers sort of argument. They do the same thing. Oh, it maddens me to no end. Oh, go ahead. They do the same thing, though. Once again, he doesn't talk about liberals in general. I haven't heard him use that because he still wants to bring liberals on his side. So go ahead.
After a crisis, how do they know where we stand if we don't participate? If evil can't be regulated, but we're saying guns can, are we saying the shooting wasn't evil? And on its face, this seems completely contradictory to all the other things they claim to believe. Sometimes you want to scream at payroll. How can you think regulating guns won't reduce shootings, but somehow regulating women will reduce abortions? But here's the real kicker. He doesn't. He doesn't think illegalizing abortions will make them happen less. What he wants is to throw people in jail for getting them.
No. He just wants it so that he doesn't have to talk about it anymore. That's really what it is. He just wants something to solve it so that he doesn't have to think about it. That's the same thing with me. I don't want to hear about racial tensions as a white dude. I don't want to hear about it. Just go ahead and get it solved and let me stay in my little world. That's really what it is. He just doesn't want to hear about it anymore. It's the same thing with, a guy who buys his wife a new car or gets anything done. It's the classic honeydew type of thing, right? Honey, can you do this? Honey, can you do that? They just want to do it and get it done so that you can stop talking about it because he doesn't want to hear about it anymore. He doesn't care. That's the whole reality of it. He doesn't care. He just wants it to be done with so that he doesn't have to hear about it anymore. That's the thing. He just doesn't want to hear it. Oh, okay, go ahead.
It's right there in how he talks about gun rights. Why should I be punished for the crimes of a monster? To him, the law isn't about shaping society. It's about who gets punished. In this view, human nature is immutable. People are going to be gay and do crime and get abortions and take drugs. And the law is not there to guide. It is there to judge. It is there to sanctify one particular walk of life as the right way.
Oh, man. I have got at least 5 books on my bookshelf of Carl Schmitt. I need to get through them so that we can try to understand what he's trying to say here, because that is such an oversimplified view of law that it is criminal. Oh, go ahead.
The reason they're opposed to contraceptives and sex ed is not because they don't work, but because they shouldn't work. It doesn't even matter.
What?
That kids who get abstinence-only education have just as much sex as the ones who learn about condoms. Acknowledging that teenagers have sex is saying it's okay, and abstinence says it's not.
What are you... Who in the hell believes this? Who in the hell believes... Unless you're talking to some real legit trad cat, who in the hell believes this? I have never... I don't know who these people are talking to. I do not, yeah. Always a result in the death of a baby. Guns don't always result in the murder, yeah. I bet their suicide rate is lower than even the countries they inhabit. Yeah. Who in the hell says this, though? I mean, this doesn't...
And if it doesn't work, it's because you're just not trying hard enough. More abstinence. More abstinence. It's not...
I don't get it. Once again, the whole idea, be gay, do crimes, and do drugs. It's like... I don't get it. He just wanted to put that in there to virtue signal, I think, and to signal to people that he's on their side. But it's like, I have never heard that many people. It's like, you know what? Look, I'll be somewhat progressive and say this: go ahead and have more condoms out. But the thing is, though, is that eventually the condom companies, like is it Magnum that produces the? It's like or Durex. That's it, Durex. It's like you think that once again you're supposed to be against capitalism, but yet you're talking about condoms as well. It's like the thing is once again is that there's no there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? So it's like really when you talk about condoms and everything else, you're still feeding into the system. Once again, I don't remember that there was a huge ban in some Catholic area that said, yeah, we're going to ban the use of condoms. I don't recall that. I don't recall. Maybe it has existed. Maybe you can prove me wrong once again, kind of like with what they're saying about Donald Trump, that he's going to, try to make himself, dictator for life. But it's like, I don't get it. I have never heard anybody say this. Who are these people talking to? Where they're just pulling this out of their ass.
It's nothing to do with the way the world is, but the way they want it to present. As the philosopher Taylor Schwiesel once said, shade never made anybody less gay. But if shade crams all the queer people back into the closet, that's how it will look to straight folks. The goal is to communicate which types of people have to fear law enforcement and which...
So, okay, once again, do you really think, once again, this is something I haven't heard him talk about. Maybe he has talked about it to a point, but particularly about, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Woke capitalism, when capitalism and, the CIA is supporting transgenderism, this and that, and allowing, once again, I don't think most of the LGBTQ community likes the freaks that are having these gay pride parades where they're all dressed up in pleather and running around playing, dance music going. I don't think most homosexuals or LGBTQ folks approve of that. They're like, no, we don't like that shit either. We don't like that cringy clown carnival that goes on. I really don't think that. Once again, you know what? I will give in to a point and just say this. I realized, as I said in that debate with that guy a long time ago, I know that homosexuality will always exist. I realize that. I know it will. So I'm not some, huge sort of guy who's thou just protest too much. I realize homosexuality will always exist. The LGBTQ community will always exist to some degree. But to say that they all agree with, I don't, go ahead.
Get to admire them.
I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. It's just, go ahead.
And once you see the conservative view of laws and customs as mapping a path we are meant to walk and punishing deviation, you start to see why we have a religious right and not so much a religious left. It describes a world drenched in sin that cannot be cleansed from the inside, but walk the path, you might save yourself. Punish.
So once again, he was talking about conservatism, and now he has made this jump. This very, once again, he has made this very unconvincing leap to now talking about evangelicalism. Once again, at least good faith leftists will always say evangelicalism. I was talking about Catholicism before, but it's like in general, they have to, once again, the more good faith lefties, like, I've seen, some like the Gray Zone, they will say right-wing evangelicalism. They don't say right-wing Catholicism. They don't say right-wing, Orthodox Christianity or even, Orthodox Judaism. They don't say those because it has to do with evangelicalism. It has to do with an unrealistic and more of a, the idea of, a rapture and everything else. Once again, Catholicism doesn't believe in a rapture. Orthodox Christianity does not believe in a rapture. These are highly heretical views. So to link Catholicism and lump it all in with this sort of, the legacy of Protestantism is a huge mistake. Yeah, go ahead.
Those who stray, you might save them as well. And you can see how talking in terms of systemic problems and harm reduction just bounces off of that. It's like saying it's better to die with one unconfessed mortal sin on your soul than 7. Nope. Nope. You're still going to hell. And what good is it to talk about populations? This is about you. Evil exists to test your integrity.
So you're okay. So I don't really get this. Is this just saying? Is this just saying screw your individualism? Go ahead.
When your soul is judged at the gates of heaven, you will stand alone. And if God still hasn't rewarded your faithfulness, you must not have been pious enough. More piety, more piety.
Once again, but now, hold on. But now he's going to backpedal a little bit. If I remember this video correctly, now he backpedals a little bit. Here we go. So he says, "Oh, it's just right-wing, evangelicalism or right-wing Catholicism." But here we go. Hashtag not all. This is what he does now. But not all Catholics are like that. Not all these folks are like that. Go ahead.
This is not to say that reactionary conservatives in the US are just a pack of Catholics. In fact,
here we go. Go ahead.
They're quite the trail mix. We got Protestants, pagans, a surprising number of atheists.
Okay. So hold on. So let's back up here. Let's back up a minute. So once again, so he was talking about more the purity of the soul and everything else, and talking about, only you will stand before God. So then he talks about Protestantism, and he talks about pagans. And of course, I mean, there has been a huge move of, left-wing folks who say, we're going to retake paganism, bro. And I would just say, take it. Take paganism with you. I don't care. No, take paganism with you. If I could tell anyone that was alt-right, I said, let them take paganism. Let them. If you want Varg, take them. Take it all. I don't want paganism. I think paganism is cringe. It's just homosexuality in a different form. That's all it is. That's all paganism is to me. But yeah, go ahead.
But maybe you're familiar with the...
I mean, I really don't get this. So once again, very bad continuity here. It's like, okay, so how do you link between talking about standing before the pearly gates, going into heaven, and then mentioning Protestants, atheists, and then what does this even have to do with your original thesis? What does this have to do? Once again, you just wanted to talk about these people. You just wanted to talk about them, and you wanted to shoehorn your way into it. This is really what he was doing. Go ahead.
The term Christian atheist? I don't mean the school of philosophy that's about following the teachings of Christ but not believing in his divinity, but colloquially, the philosophy of I don't believe in God, but the God I don't believe in is Jehovah. It's a person who, despite not being a Christian, has a set of ethics clearly informed by a Christian upbringing or by living in a not officially but in practice Christian nation. Regardless of creed, this is the dominant morality of the United States.
And what about Europe? I mean, I know Europe is not one nation. I do realize that. But it's like, what about France? What about Germany? What about... what aboutism? I know. To the nth degree, but it's like, your Americentric views are very troubling, sir. That's all I have to say. Your Americentric views are very troubling. Go ahead.
And it spans the whole political spectrum. Take, for example, the often liberal sentiment, I refuse to vote for the lesser of two evils. There is no...
Actually, that's ironic. A lot of leftists are doing the same thing. They don't want to vote for Biden because they know Biden is just as bad as Trump in other ways. But of course, there are people like Vosh who are like, well, we're going to do some 4D chess and we're going to get these liberals on our side somehow. I don't know how the fuck that's going to happen, but apparently it will. Oh, go ahead. That's not just a liberal thing. Go ahead.
consequentialist argument for this. Perhaps if you and an organized bloc of citizens threatened to withhold your votes in order to influence policy, but as a purely individual act, the consequentialist would argue your goal is to achieve the most ethical outcome. And that
I believe Destiny is a consequentialist, is he not? Anyway, go ahead.
if there are two evils and one or the other is going to be in a position of power, voting for the lesser is more ethical than staying home. The consequentialist would argue you are just as responsible for the results of your inaction as for the actions you take. When both options are terrible, all you can do is mitigate the damage. But that's not generally the way it feels. It feels
What does
like
it feel like?
refusing to participate or choosing someone you want to win, but
you can taste the irony with a knife. You could cut the irony with a knife. The thing is, once again, oh my gosh, we're going to exile the red guy, but we're going to, mitigate the damage by voting for a Democrat. But then we really want a Green Party guy. Okay, sorry. Let me go ahead and check the phone right quick. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, let's go ahead and finish this up. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, let's finish this Feihua up.
whom you know isn't going to, is the more ethical option. That voting for the lesser is a moral compromise. This feeling is independent of results. It doesn't mitigate damage, it doesn't reduce harm, but it does preserve.
Once again, this is something, this is just before the whole business of, the Bernie bros and them not supporting, being against Biden. It's hilarious. Go ahead.
Preserve your integrity. That feeling is very powerful.
pig,
Many
Mrs.
politicians have staked their careers on it. Our society has always told us that voting for any flavor of evil will leave a stain on our souls. And it continues to feel this way even among people who no longer believe in souls. The greatest difference between left and right is simply in how common and how intense this feeling is. This is why fascism can be so enticing to the religious and irreligious alike, why they have such an easy time making inroads with conservatives. Because fascism is politics as faith. There's a reason the Nazis talked about the Übermensch. They didn't reject the framework that evil is ancient.
Once again, even I have to say, I've not read Nietzsche. But from what I've heard is that Nietzsche did not imply the Übermensch in a certain way. Is that Nietzsche was sick a lot, this and that is why he created the image of the Übermensch. So when Hitler says, in his speech, in his last speech, actually, it's like, mit Übermenschen gelangt and all that business. It was something that he just simply borrowed and aped from Nietzsche. Now, of course, you don't mention that. Go ahead. I'm sorry to leave it on
And the
that
world
picture.
is polluted and nothing short of divine intervention can save it. They said the world could be saved and only by them, because to the other races, Aryans are as gods. And which would you rather believe? In the left's framework, we are the cause of all the world's problems.
Okay. The photo, once again, I love this photo. This is obviously like, a protest from the Vietnam War. Sheath on the bayonet is still on. I just wanted that to be noticed. Sheath on the bayonet is still on. And that's just a side note. But yeah, the thing is, once again, is I don't believe that the left is the cause of all the world's problems. But I think that they are ignorant about how to solve these issues. Go ahead.
But to hear the fascists tell it, everyone else is the cause and we're the solution. So conservatives...
I think that's a matter of opinion, because I think that muff fascists do push that. But what I will say is that there are, that every party does say that to a point. Go ahead.
Can brush off moderate change as impossible, yet embrace people who promise to turn the whole world inside out. because nothing short of that is worth trying.
Mm.
I would caution against assuming this mentality is a natural outgrowth of Christianity or paganism or
Oh, please. You did that just earlier. Don't give me that type of crap. You implied that it was Christianity, this and that, but you were just afraid. Now you're once again, you pretty much obliterated your earlier point where you just said, once again, what was the point of even dabbing on Christians and saying that they were, evil, this and that, but then suddenly saying, well, I don't mean to, then why even mention it? Go ahead.
or atheism. It is a perversion not representative of any belief system save itself. It spreads because people in power spread it, and people listen when they want their egos flattered and their sins absolved.
You know what? At this point, just screw it. Just let Biden in, and I want to see the apology, and then you guys slowly realize that he is no better than Obama. At this point, go ahead. Just vote for Biden. At this point, I know this sounds very childish, but it's like, go ahead and just vote for Biden at this point and just watch the fireworks. Go ahead. And if you think that he's going to be some sort of, harm reduction, or if you think that he's going to, mitigate issues as you say it, or what, go ahead.
Be folded into an authority structure that privileges them. They'll do what it takes to conform whatever beliefs they came in with to it. The necessary counter-narrative is to stress that the problems we face are not natural features of the world. That, in fact, very little of human life is natural, and even if it were, what is natural is not necessarily what is right.
Ugh. This guy has not been outside, hasn't he? Yeah, it is Godwin's law. Exactly, yeah. Nietzsche did share some views with the Nazis, like race, for instance. Fun fact, Nietzsche rejected anti-Semitism. Yep, that's true. Because he thought Jews were the smartest race, paraphrasing, of course. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, once again, I think that this has changed a little bit. But I think that the far right in general has realized that, yeah, Nietzsche was not on their side. Nietzsche was more, was more of a leftist in some ways than people want to admit. I mean, I can't really say because I have not read Nietzsche at all, but it's like, yeah, I don't really get that. I don't care if some LARPers want to get together in the woods and drink meat. It's just cringe. It's cringe, but so, yeah, his day is full. Yeah, right, calls that IQ nationalism. Yeah. Okay, this is, okay, go ahead.
The way nature deals with a pandemic is to let everyone without a genetic resistance to the illness die, and if what's left is not a stable breeding population, you go extinct. That's natural. Humanity as we know it only exists
That's a straw man, I think. Also, it could be that people have different immune systems, this and that, and that some people are more immune to other, to things than others. I just go ahead. I'm trying.
in defiance of nature. Every form of bigotry, every means of oppression is a thing we created. They are
Really? Yeah, I don't fully believe that. I mean, go ahead.
human problems, and they have human solutions. They have not always existed, and there are places in the world where they are being addressed.
Thing is, though, once again, he has to say in vague morality, in vague terms, because he doesn't want to be specific, because he doesn't want to get owned for, oh, well, what about what they did here? Or what about what they did here? I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to mention that. So, yeah, that's a bit of an issue, isn't it? Okay. This is some feijoa, though. Go ahead.
The idea that the worst things on Earth have no great significance, that most evil is a chaotic mess born of human fallibility, can be very depressing to consider.
See, then this is kind of a reverse of what people like. I guess now she's considered more of a woke scold and not really appreciated. But that I can't think of it. But that British gal who's like a she's not a Satanist, but I think like a Angie Speaks. That's it. But yeah, that Angie Speaks was like saying that, basically talking about conspiracy theorists, how basically I've lost my place. I'm sorry. I lost my mind here, but where she's like, life is chaotic, this and that, and things aren't organized, and this, So basically, he is agreeing that life is organized in some way, and that we can solve these human issues, but it just has to take people to believe in our version of it.
It can also be empowering. This is a secular view. It can be reconciled with spirituality, but not with reaction.
Once again, he's giving some very, very, very infinitesimally small lip service to religion, and more specifically Christianity. But basically, he's like, only Christianity within this very narrow view. We can only look at Christianity in this very narrow view, and if they escape that, that's reactionary. And that is not good. That is basically using religion for your own political means. But yeah, go ahead.
Reactionary fundamentalism, which is the point. And it can be kind of baffling to assert that when bad things happen, maybe we should do something about it. But you just can't take for granted that when someone agrees a thing is...
I remember an episode of Law & Order where they say, in politics, you either do something or you do nothing. And that's a very true statement. Doing something may make it worse, but he doesn't want to talk about that. Go ahead.
Bad.
Now I'm sounding like him. Holy crap. Go ahead.
They're agreeing it's a problem. But if you cross that hurdle, again, not with the people spewing bullshit, but the people they're trying to convince, you may find incrementalism still doesn't do anything for them. They may still long for something more dramatic. And frankly, a lot of us feel the same. So maybe that's a gateway to talking about deeper change. Because we don't need to be as gods to turn the world inside out.
Screw your... Go ahead. Okay, well, there you go, folks. There you go. Yeah, why did you put a like on the video? I don't know why. I'll go ahead and undo it. But yeah, I think I just... Maybe it was so ridiculous. I applauded him for his ridiculousness. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, that is some cringe. You know what? Let's go ahead and finish up on... I got a video here, apparently.
Comrades, the Political Bureau of the...
We're not going to listen to every minute of this, but we'll listen to a little bit of it as a palate cleanser. As a little bit of a palate cleanser. This is Hoja. It's ironic, of course, that No More Lives, Please 1975 is here, but let's go ahead and listen to some Hoja. Y'all want to listen to some Hoja to kind of round this out? Why not? Let's go ahead and listen to some Hoja. Yeah. Go ahead. Let's listen to some Hoja.
The Central Committee considers it necessary to submit a report on the international situation to this plenum because important international events have recently taken place which are directly connected with the cause of peace and socialism, with the struggle to consolidate and defend the unity of the socialist camp headed by the Soviet Union, and with the defense of Marxism-Leninism. The aggressive imperialist forces, international reaction, anti-Marxist and revisionist elements have recently launched an open attack on the socialist camp, on the communist and workers' parties in the capitalist countries, and on the people of the Near and Middle East. The aim of the imperialists was and continues to be split the socialist camp and defeat the principal forces which resist their plans of war and aggression. The attempts of the imperialists have suffered defeat everywhere, but they have not failed to influence the international situation and have caused a further rise of tension in the relations between states. In analyzing the principal aspects of the development of the international situation, we should examine, first of all, the problems which are linked with the consolidation of the unity of our camp, and draw the necessary conclusions for our party to further strengthen the unity in its ranks, to further intensify its struggle in defense of the interests of our people and of the socialist camp as a whole, in defense of Marxism-Leninism. One of the distinctive features of the events of these years is that during this period, the international situation has marked progress towards the lowering of international tension. but has also suffered temporary setbacks which reflect the contradictions on an international scale between the forces of peace and those of war, between the forces of socialism and those of imperialism. The great changes in the ratio of forces between socialism and imperialism in favor of socialism, the emergence of socialism from the framework of one single state into a world system, have shaken the world capitalist system to its foundations. The magnificent achievements of the Soviet Union, the important and rapid successes of the People's Republic of China, and the other countries of the socialist camp have demonstrated the undeniable superiority of the socialist system over that of capitalism. The Leninist policy of peace persistently pursued by the countries of the socialist camp, which complies with the vital interests of all the peoples, has found the support of all the peace-loving states and forces in the world. It has exerted a divisive influence on the struggle of the peoples in the defense of peace, against war, against the arms race, against the aggressive military blocs, against the warmongering policy of the imperialists for disarmament, collective security, and international cooperation. On the contrary, the policy of the imperialist monopolies, headed those of the United States, has gone into crisis. The policy of the Cold War, and from positions of strength, has suffered heavy defeat. The national liberation struggle of the oppressed peoples has dealt telling blows at colonial domination. Within the capitalist system, the contradictions between the capitalist states have become much more profound. And with the weakening of the positions of imperialism and the deterioration of the economic situation, the class struggle within each capitalist state has become more intense. It goes without saying that this situation is not to the liking of the imperialists. The lowering of international tension does not comply with the interests of the aggressive imperialist circles, which base themselves on the policy of strength and which exact colossal profits from the arms race and from war.
Yep, true. I will. You know what? I will go ahead and let me go ahead and drop that in. I think this is Let me see here. I'll go ahead and put a link to the video, and then I'll also put a link to the actual channel. I'll go ahead and drop that in here. This is a link to. Okay, that's a link to the video, and this is a link to the channel. I think this is I think this is Finnish Bolshevik's channel. I want to say I think this is Finnish Bolshevik's channel. I'm not sure. Could be wrong. But I think it's kind of like a collective where they each read like little sections here. But yeah. It's Finn Bowles' second channel. Yeah, I thought that's what it was. I thought it was his second channel. Yeah, it is. It is. Yep. I was about to say, yeah. But anyway, y'all go ahead and enjoy that. Yeah, a little bit of Marxist Leninist there. I remember seeing this, video. So, yeah, they do have some good quotes there, on the question of dialectics. Conspectus of Lassalle's book, The Philosophy of... well, there you go. So y'all can enjoy seeing that after this stream here. So we'll go ahead and leave that in. But I think I do want to kind of finish up. I've been putting it off. I'll finish up reading a little bit of Gaddafi. We'll just finish it off by doing my own reading here. I think we're going to go ahead and skip past The Nation. I said I was going to read it, but... Oh. Okay. Now, should we? Let me see here. Minorities, education... Oh, okay. Okay, the last little bit I think I'm going to read here about, there's a similar channel called Socialism for All. Yeah, I have that one too, yeah. You want me to read Nation? Okay, I'll read Nation. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and read The Nation. Okay. The Nation. The nation is the individual's national political umbrella. It is wider than the social umbrella provided by the tribe to its members. Tribalism damages nationalism because tribal allegiance weakens national loyalty and flourishes at its expense. In the same way, loyalty to the family flourishes at the expense of tribal loyalty, and weakens it. National loyalty is essential to the nation, but at the same time, it is a threat to humanity. The nation in the world community is similar to the family in the tribe. The more the families of a tribe feud and become fanatical, the more the tribe is threatened. The family is threatened when its individual members feud and pursue only their personal interests. Similarly, if the tribes of a nation quarrel and pursue only their own interests, then the nation is undermined. National fanaticism, expressed in the use of force against weak nations, or national progress which is at the expense of other nations, is evil and harmful to humanity. However, strong individuals who have self-respect and are aware of their own individual responsibilities are important and useful to the family, just as a strong and respectable family, which is aware of its importance, is socially and materially beneficial to the tribe. Equally useful to the whole world is a progressive, productive, and civilized nation. So far, this reminds me of some of the National Reformation Party's positions. Yeah, the national political structure is damaged when it descends to a lower social level, namely the family and tribe, and attempts to act in their manner and to adopt their views. The nation is an enlarged family which has passed through the period of the tribe and through the diversification of tribes that have branched out from one common source. It also includes those members who affiliated themselves with its destiny. The family likewise grows in... Okay, I'm sorry, I just hear the thing going off there. Okay. Although the passage of time creates new nations, it also helps to fragment old ones. Common origin and common destiny through affiliation are the two historic bases of any nation. Their origin ranks first and affiliation second. A nation is not defined only by origin, even though origin is its basis and beginning. In addition to its origin, a nation is formed by human affiliations through the course of history, which induce a group of people to live in one area of land, develop a common history, form one heritage, and face the same destiny. A nation, irrespective of blood bond, is formed through a sense of belonging and a shared destiny. But why is the map of the earth witnessed great nations that have disappeared to give way to the rights of other nations? Is the reason only political without relationship to the social aspect of the third universal theory? Or is it social properly? Or is it social and so properly the concern of this part of the Green Book? Let us see. The family is indisputably a social structure rather than a political one. The same applies to the tribe because it is a family which has reproduced and enlarged itself to become many families. Equally true, the nation is a tribe after it has grown its branches, have multiplied and become tribes. The nation is also a social structure whose bond is nationalism. But why were these empires made up of different nations? The answer is that the state is not a social structure like the family, the tribe, and the nation, but rather a political entity created by several factors, the simplest and foremost of which is nationalism. The national state is the only political form which is consistent with the natural social structure. Its existence lasts unless it becomes subject to the tyranny of another stronger nationalism, or unless its political structure as a state is affected by its social structure in the form of tribes, clans, and families. A political structure is corrupted if it becomes subservient to the sectarian social structure of the family, tribe, or sect and adopt its characteristics. Religious, economic, and military factors also contribute to form a state which differs from the basic national state. A common religion, as well as the requirements of economics or military conquest, may create a state which embraces several nations. Thus, in one age, the world witnesses a state or an empire which will disintegrate in another age. When the spirit of nationalism emerges stronger than the religious loyalties or conflict flares up between different nationalisms which were brought together. For example, by one religion, each nation becomes independent and recovers its social structure. That empire then disappears. The role of religion resurfaces when the religious spirit emerges stronger than the spirit of nationalism. Consequently, The various nationalisms are unified under the banner of religion, until the national role appears once again, and so on. All states which are composed of several nationalities for whatever reason, religion, economics, military power, or man-made ideology, which will be destroyed by national conflict until each nation obtains its independence. Very true. He's correct. Until each nation obtains its independence, because a social factor will inevitably triumph over the political factor. That is true. Despite political circumstances which necessitate the establishment of a state, the basis for the life of individuals is the family and extends to the tribe, the nation, and eventually to all humanity. The essential factor is the social factor. Nationalism is a permanent factor. Stress should be laid on social reality and family care in order to bring up an integrated, well-educated human. Care should then be given to the tribe as a social umbrella and a natural social school which develops its members at the post-family stage. The nation then follows. The individual learns social values, mainly from the family and the tribe from which form a natural social structure created by no particular individual. Taking care of the family is the interest of the individual, just as the care of the tribe is in the interest of the family, the individual, and the nation. It is part of the national identity. The social factor, the national factor, is the real constant dynamic force behind history. Disregard the national bond of human communities, and to establish a political system in contradiction to social reality establishes only a temporary structure which will be destroyed by the movement of the social factor of those groups, i.e., the national integrity and dynamism of each community. These facts are innate in the life of humankind and are not intellectual conjectures. Every individual in the world should be aware of these realities and work accordingly so that his actions may be worthwhile. To avoid deviation, disorder, and damage in the life of human groups, which are the result of a lack of understanding and respect for these principles of human life, it is necessary to know these proven realities. Okay, we're going to skip the bit about women, or woman. We're going to skip that. We're going to try to get to some good stuff here. Basically, it sounds like, yeah, woman is female. Being female means she has a biological nature. Oh! Biological nature that is different from that of the male. Based. Anti-trans gang. Anti-trans action. Okay, well, I'll read it from here. Why not? Okay. The female's biological nature, differing as it does from that of the males, has impaired to women characteristics different from those of men in form and essence. A woman's anatomy is different from that of a man's, just as the female differs in plants and animals. Yep. This is a natural and incontrovertible fact. In the animal and plant kingdoms, the male is naturally created strong and aggressive, while the female is created beautiful and gentle. These are the natural and internal characteristics innate to living creatures, whether they are called human beings, animals, or plants. Yes, very true. In view of his different nature and in line with the laws of nature, the male has played the role of the strong and striving, not by design, but simply because he's created that way. Yep, there you go. Very good, very based. Let me see here. We're gonna skip around here. Oh boy, okay. So we got some black nationalism here. Well, let's go ahead and read this bit. Black people will prevail in the world. The latest stage of slavery has been the enslavement of blacks by white people. The memory of this age will persist in the thinking of black people until they have vindicated themselves. This tragic and historic event, resulting bitter feeling and the yearning or the vindication of a whole race constitute a psychological motivation of black people to vengeance and triumph that cannot be disregarded. In addition to the inevitable cycle of social history, which includes the yellow people's denomination, he literally says this, I'm not just making this up, okay. Yellow people's domination of the world when it marched from Asia, and the white people's carrying out a wide-ranging colonialist movement, covering all the continents of the world, is now giving way to the reemergence of black people. Black people are now in every backward social situation, but such backwardness works to bring about their numerical superiority because they're low. This is kind of some reverse racism here. Okay, so hold on. But such backwardness works to bring about their numerical superiority because their low standard of living has shielded them from methods of birth control and family planning. Also, their old social traditions place no limit on marriages, leading to their accelerated growth. What the? Oh my goodness. Oh Lord, did he? Okay. Also, the population of other races has decreased because of birth control, restrictions on marriage, and constant occupation and work. Unlike the blacks, who tend to be less obsessive about work in a climate which is continuously hot. That's kind of like some backhanded. That's some backhanded praise, isn't it? That's some backhanded stuff. I mean, it feels very backhanded to me. I can't really. Sorry, but that's hilarious. Okay. Oh my goodness, folks. Oh my goodness. Okay. That is hilarious, though. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and keep on going here. Education, the type of education prevailing all over the world. This does not mean. I'm just trying to look through here, see if there's anything good. Societies which monopolize religious education are reactionary societies biased towards ignorance and hostile to freedom. Music and art. Let's see here. What? Okay. Sports, horsemanship, and the stage. Wow. Huh. That's pretty wide ranging. Huh. Well, okay. I'm going to go ahead and end that there. That was pretty interesting, though, to read the Green Book. And there is some good stuff in there. But yeah, based Gaddafi, definitely. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have said our piece. We've been going up now for almost 2.5 hours. It's a rare moment to go on for this long. Like I say, the next time I go live is probably going to be a little bit of time. I'm not sure exactly when that is, but I hope y'all enjoyed nonetheless. And as always, I should always thank my audience. See you later, Temujin. Union Army Ball. I will watch your new video, Song of the South. I will go ahead and recommend that. Red Dundonian. No More Lives Please, 1975. Will DeMarco. Red Dundonian. Uncle Ho. Will DeMarco. I already said that, sorry. Who else here? Let me give some props. Who else was here? Temujin. Oh, yeah. Fiero Angela Requiem. Give a shout out to you, too. I think that we've had... APR. Autarkic People's Republic. And, oh, yeah. World War II Girl as well. I think that's about it, though, isn't it? But yeah, I do want to thank everyone, though. Thank you for joining. And I hope you have a good rest of the day. And see you later. We'll go ahead and play this outro. Apologies for the double audio. It's just that's just the way it is, unfortunately. So here we go. Let's go ahead and do, we're going to go ahead and do this outro. Why not? We're going to go ahead and just take the strike. We're not going to get a strike, but we'll okay, go ahead.
Пусть он вспомнит девушку простую, пусть услышит, как она поет, пусть он землю бережет родную, а любовь Катюша сбережет.